In this picture of Josh Fitch playing the piano, there are a couple of things I want to try. It's not quite straight. If I crop it in Lightroom, I'll lose some of the keyboard. So I want to try editing in Photoshop and see whether I can get content aware to crop it without losing too much. I also want to see whether I can take out this bright area here. If I try this using the adjustment brush in Lightroom, I click on that. My brush size is about right. You see the brush size is maybe a little bit big because it's really the white I want to work on. So I click and I drag in this area. I'm not being too fussy about avoiding the black window thing. So if I decrease the exposure, you can see it doesn't really work very well. It gives me white edges. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to reset that and then close. The adjustment brush in Lightroom is good for big areas, but this really needs selection, this area. So I am going to go to Photo. I think it's on Edit in and Photoshop. And this symbol here means on my Mac a shortcut key would be Command E. In Windows it would be Control E. I haven't really made any adjustments, I don't think, and if I've edited it before in Photoshop and I want to edit the Photoshop one, I'll do the bottom version, which is edit with Photoshop adjustments, but this one I haven't done that, and if I had any Lightroom adjustments like cropping, I'd want to take those with me. The first thing I want to do is duplicate the background, which I'll do on Layer, Duplicate Layer. Yeah, I could call it something else here, but background copy makes sense. So if I go for the crop tool now, I'm going to say yes, I do want content aware up here, and I'm going to use it to straighten first of all. So I come out to the edges and I drag round, and it's a little bit hard because it's so dark. I would use a vertical here as a reference because it's so dark. It's quite hard to see, but I think that's more or less vertical. I think that's good enough for this picture anyway. So I've lost a little bit along here. Now this Photoshop should be able to fill in this just general dark area. I don't know how it's going to do with the piano keys here. But anyway, I've got content aware clicked, so it should fill in that space and this space up here. I'm going to click the tick, and it's working on it, as you can see. And that seems to have done pretty well to me. I didn't want to lose any piano keys, really, any more than I had. If I do Command Z before and after, I think that's done certainly a good enough job. I've got a bit of a line up there, haven't I? I'll just take that out. In fact, I could do it cropping a bit lower anyway, couldn't it really? And I might yet, I don't need that to be content aware, I might yet crop that down anyway. Okay, so what I would like to do now is darken this area a bit. And I will do that by, first of all, selecting it using the quick select here. And I will zoom in on it to get a better result. So I'm holding down the Alt key and turning the mouse wheel. And quick select does a pretty good job. Now, if I go for this window furniture, my word, I thought quick select would also go onto the piano because they look exactly the same colour to me as far as I can see, and get that as well. I think if I nibble away, it's got this little bit missing. I think if I try and get that, no, it's got it as well. I thought again it would jump up here. Quick select is really very good these days. So that's selected exactly what I want. I'm doing Command 0, Control 0 to zoom back out again. Now what I'm going to do is add a curves layer, because curves gives me a lot of control over the tone. You'll see that where I had selected has become part of the layer mask for the curves layer. So in other words, everything that's black here is the area that I had not selected here, and that won't be affected by the curves layer. So the bit I had selected was the white, and that will be affected. So what I'm going to do is just drag this down quite a long way here, and you can see I can go too far. I can perhaps do something like that, and that probably is good enough. I thought I might have to go back and soften the edges of my selection a little bit just to blend it in, but to be honest, I think I can get away with that. So I'll show that in another video. So I think that will do. That's I think that's dark enough. So I shall now save it. I could do Command S, Control S, File Save. And actually, just before I do that, at the moment this is the JPEG, but because I edited, because in Lightroom I chose Edit from Photoshop, when I save it, it will save it. It will not overwrite the JPEG, it will save it as a PSD file, and there it is saving away. So you need to be a bit careful not to overwrite the original, but I know, because I've done it before in Lightroom, that it won't overwrite the original. It will save it as a PSD file, but if it's the first time you're trying this, you might want to save it, you might want to test this on something that you don't care too much about, just to make sure it works in the way you expect. So I'm going to close that, and yes, back in Lightroom. In fact, there it is, isn't it? So it's come in as a PSD file, and there's this is a copy that I made. So if I just look at my PSD file, I pressed I to get this information on so I can see which one I'm on. So that's my PSD. This is my JPEG, so this is not rotated and this is not darkened. And that's another one I was experimenting with. So yes, I think I'm happy with that.